Hi, this is Tom, and I want to talk to you today about do you want to be a model? And I think there's a lot of young girls that go through this process, especially in this day of television and the internet and just technology in general, that, the pressures sometimes on young girls is to get into that field. And, of course, so few are going to be able to do it, and it's a very difficult field to get into. But it can happen very quickly and very easily. My mother was a model. She was around 5'9", almost 5'10", and she was, a little bit short, fine for that time and that day. And actually, she was speaking. My dad had a speaking engagement with her, and he knew John Robert Powers. He had done some public relations for him, and so he was in from New York. He watched my mother speak in front of this large group, and he says, "Hey, I want to hire her to come work for me in New York," to my dad. And I kind of was a little bit shocked by it, and they talked it over and they decided to pass on it. But my older sister did some modeling, and she was beautiful. Probably would have been a better actress than a model. And then my oldest sister had a child who I always felt could be a model. She was a redhead, and I thought when I saw her, when I came home from California and saw her, I said, "Hey, she can be a model," and everybody laughed and everything like that. And then my oldest niece decided she wanted to get into the business. She had gone to Indiana University, and she went to New York to study acting, which I recommended to her. And my middle niece, this is the redhead, decided to go to New York and get into the art, doing art. She actually was very good in pottery and stuff like that. So anyway, she came down to visit her sister in New York City, and her older sister says, "Come on, let's do what Uncle Tommy said. Let's see if you can really, be a model. Let's go take you out to some of the agencies." And they went out to an agency that did modeling calls, like a Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever it may be. I can't remember exactly what it was. And they walked into this agency, and the girl came out and said, anyone who doesn't have any, have a portfolio, they can get, leave the office. And they didn't say it that nicely, as soon as possible. And so my two nieces looked at each other, and my oldest niece says, let's wait around here, maybe somebody will notice you, and we'll just go, wow, I'll be the owner or whatever. Let's just hang out here for a little bit and see what happens. And, that's what happened. The owner, and this was an agency that Kate Moss had at that time, was with, anyway, in New York City. And walked out, saw her, said, "Wow, who are you?" And that's basically how it started. She also went to the Ford agency. The Ford agency liked her also. So it was kind of between the two of them, she decided to go with a little bit newer agency, smaller, and And so she started, and New York City she liked, but she didn't really particularly like, some of the things that were happening in New York City and the things that she was being introduced to. So she decided to go to England, and she went there and actually lived with some guy in a big mansion, or rented an area out in this big mansion, and did some modeling there in the UK. And then she might have gone to France and Paris and did a little bit there too. And then she decided to go to Japan. And actually Japan is where the Japanese loved her. I don't know if it's because of red hair and pale skin or whatever it was, but she actually obviously connected very strongly with them, and she actually ended up doing a lot of work with them and making a good amount of money. And then came back to New York, and decided she wanted to buy a place, and she went to Brooklyn, which Brooklyn was depressed now, but was coming up, was going to be a hot area, and she bought a place there, which was like a place where she could rent above and then live in the unit below. And she ended up having that for 5, 6, 7 years or whatever, 8 years, and then sold it for over $1 million. So she's done well, and she's been very practical, and she's been in the modeling business. She actually did some modeling recruiting, went over to Russia and tried to recruit some Russian girls and things like that. So she has that background and knowledge in picking out girls and stuff like that. But who would have known? I just have a feel for it when I can see a girl and I can see the structure and the shoulders and whatever and the way they move and just their persona. I mean, you look at somebody like Brooklyn Decker. She's more of a swimsuit model because she has a larger chest, but she is thin overall and beautiful, but not the most beautiful, and but very engaging, and she's got a great personality. She's probably going to end up being a better actress than she ever was a model, even though she's done well in model. I think as an actress is where she's going to really shine and have a lot of fun with it because she's got a lot of personality. And that's another thing to think about, is to get in that. If you have, a pretty smile and things like that, and your body's not perfect, you might be more, and you're a little bit short on the short side, you might be more inclined to be an actress or get in that field, which is just as complex as the modeling business is. And once you get started, then that even is greater. You have rejection maybe when you go in to see somebody at an agency, but then you go out in the field and they reject you, and then you're not getting jobs and stuff like that. Then it's a lot of pressure on you. So I think if you really want to do it, you should do it. If you have the measurements and the architecture of your body is suited to be a model, do it. If you have trouble losing weight and you gain weight easily, I would look at that and say, no, maybe not. Maybe you don't have to. But if you don't have to work on your weight and it comes to you naturally, even some of the thinnest girls have to lose a little bit of weight. But if you're more inclined to gain weight, maybe you stay out of it. So I wanted to make this, and I hope this is helpful to you. And good luck and break a leg. Okay, talk to you.